Hello and welcome once again to the Love Spoon Workshop. In this video we're sharing 5 more scroll saw project ideas that you might be interested in having a go at making yourself. Our first scroll saw project idea that we're sharing with you is to have a go at making bookends. Now in this demonstration we've used thicker pieces of wood, and the reason for that, it adds extra weight to your bookend, making it more capable of holding the books in place. However, if you are more comfortable using a thinner piece of wood on your scroll saw, don't worry about it. You can use more substantial pieces of wood to make the side piece and the base, which you'll see us working on later on, and that will hold the books in place for you. The designs that we've chosen to make our bookends in are an owl. We've chosen the owl because it's a wise owl, and of course reading lots of books will increase your wisdom, and a rhino, a strong animal that would be more than capable of holding your books in place. So getting on to the method that we use for making our bookends. We start off by marking our project out on the wood itself. So we draw it all out on paper, transfer that design onto the wood using carbon paper, and then go on to cutting the basic outline of our project on the scroll saw. For any of you who are new to scroll sawing, any beginners, the basic method that we stick to when working with the scroll saw is to mark that line out, and we aim to just cut the outside edge of the line that you've marked out. We just aim to cut that out. But there's also a degree, an element of improvisation. And especially when you're learning, you'll find that sometimes you'll go a little bit too far outside the line, and sometimes you'll go a little bit inside. Don't worry about it, it's all part of the process. The more work you do with the scroll saw, the more accurate you will become when cutting. You'll also notice that we have one little internal cut to do. That's just for the rhino's tail. So you drill a hole in the design to separate the tail from the body itself, insert your blade into the hole and cut the shape out. After that, we go on to working with the hand tools. This is an optional extra. If you want to add a little bit of extra flair to your work, you can use the hand carving skills, have a go at doing them yourself. Perhaps it's something you're interested in learning. But if you're not, you can just adapt the design and think of different shapes and different ideas that it will not actually require you to do any hand carving. Once the hand carving is completed, we then move on to making the side of our bookends and the base. We cut this out on our saw. Again, use whatever you have available to yourself. We have access to different equipment, so we use it. The method we use for putting the base and the side piece together is by gluing it and also pinning it. A little technique you will notice is blunting the end of the pin. The reason that we do this, it reduces the chances of splitting the wood, increasing the chances that you'll succeed in putting your base and side piece together successfully. After we put the base and side piece together, we then stick, using super glue, our design, our owl and our rhino to the base and the side piece. The final part of the process you'll see at the end of the video is where we add 3 coats of shellac, sand and sealer. So there you go, that's the method for how you can make a bookend in wood. On to our second scroll saw project. Now this one is making a key rack. Again, this was an item that was very popular in our workshop before we began concentrating more on love spoons. The method for making your key rack is slightly more simple than some of the other ones. And the reason for this, you don't actually need to do any hand carving. So this is an ideal project for any of you who are interested in scroll sawing but don't really have any interest in the hand carving. So you scroll saw that basic shape out on the scroll saw. You then work on adding the hooks and the two little plates that will be used for hanging on. In this example, we've put 4 hooks that can be used for hanging the keys upon. Mark it out using a spike where you would like to put your 4 key hooks, and then just twist them into the key holder itself. Nice part with this one as well, you can do all sorts of different shapes, styles and designs. 3 that we used to do are the key shape, a house shape and also a car shape. Using them depending on the type of key that you intend to hang on your key rack. So that's our second project, is to have a go at making a key rack, a key holder in woods. Moving on to our third project, and again another popular item that we used to sell in our family workshop. This one here is a money box. The shape that we've decided to go for is a pig, because of course also referred to as a piggy bank. One of the first things that we do is to prepare our wood. So we prepare the wood by drilling holes through, because our intention is to cut the front and the back of the money box out at the same time. This saves you a little bit of time. It means that you're cutting out 2 pieces, 2 sides, all at once. And that's something we're always doing. We're always looking to be as efficient in our work as possible. And by screwing 2 pieces of wood together, it just allows us to go through the entire process just a little bit more quickly. We mark out the pig shape on the wood itself, and then once that is marked out, it's back onto the scroll saw to cut out that basic shape. Another thing that we always do is to sand the back of the wood. This means that it sits flat on the base of the scroll saw, again making life just a little bit more easy for us to do. After we have finished with our scroll saw, we then carve out the features of the pig. Again, this is optional. If you're only interested in scroll sawing, you can choose a design, or you can choose this design, a pig outline, and there's all sorts of different ways then that you could finish it. You could choose to paint it. You could leave it as it is. No rules or regs. All of these projects can be used as a basis for yourselves, and then just adapt them to suit your skills, abilities and interests best. Once the pig outline is completed, we then focus upon creating a box. So for the top, we drill a little hole through and then scroll saw inside just to create that slot that you will put the money into. We glue the top and the sides together using super glue, and the base of our money box, we do it using screws. So instead of using super glue to stick it on, we use 2 screws to screw it to the rest of the box, allowing you at a later stage to access the money. The final part of this process then is to stick our pig outlines to the one side and the other side of our money box. As with all the projects, our method of finishing is to use shellac sanding sealer. On to our 4th scroll saw project. And this one is going to be a decorative hook. You can use it to hang a jacket or coat upon, or a tea towel, something like that. The shape that we've chosen to use is a seahorse. And I designed it in a way that the tail, I've strengthened it, just thickened it up a little bit, because that is what we're going to use to hang our item upon. So it just needs a little bit of extra strength. You'll also notice with these projects, as much as possible, we mark them out with a vertical grain, allowing us to work with the grain as much as possible. So same again, mark it all out on the wood using carbon paper. It's then off to the scroll saw to cut out the basic outline, that profile of our design. You could choose to do all sorts of different shapes, as long as you make sure that that hook, whatever you're using as the hook part, is strong enough to take whatever is going to be holding. From the scroll saw, we then go on to our hand carving. An optional extra, but certainly adds another dimension to the work you do. In all of these projects, the scroll saw is the cornerstone of the work that we do. So by being able to work with the scroll saw, you have that outline of the project that you're wanting to do. And it is the basis then for incorporating all sorts of woodworking as well as wood carving skills. The wood carving, it adds an extra dimension to the scroll sawing that you do. But the scroll saw itself can give you a really nice finish and a lovely outline of all sorts of different shapes. Our final project is to make a doorstop in the shape of a mouse. This was one of the earliest items that we actually made and sold at our family workshop, and was a very popular item too. Same as the other projects, you start out by marking the shape onto the wood itself. You then take it across to the scroll saw and you can cut out the basic outline. Once you've got your basic outline cut, you can sand and refine that shape on a sander, a sanding machine, and then we go on to our hand carving. Again, with all of these projects, if there are elements, equipment that you haven't got access to, there's all sorts of different ways of adapting the work to suit what you've got available to you and what you enjoy working with. For example, if you haven't got access to a belt sander, you can hand sand it and you can shape it using hand tools and hand gouges. Equally, you can shape it further using the scroll saw. So with all of these projects, you adapt it to suit the equipment you have and the interest that you have as well. Once we've finished with the sander, it's on to the hand carving. You hand carve out that shape of the face of the mouse, sand it all down by hand. With all of these projects, we finish them off using 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, rubbing it down in between coats using a fine sandpaper. Around about a P240 or 320 is what we use. But again, you can go finer if you want to. When you're rubbing down in between coats of shellac, what you're aiming to do is to just take the roughness off. You don't want to completely remove the shellac altogether. There you go. 5 more simple ideas that you can have a go at making yourself. Let us know in the comments section which of those projects is your favourite, and also which of those projects do you think that you're going to have a go at making first. Thank you again for watching, and as always, we'll be back again soon with more videos.